Jones has said that he was grateful to DeMarco for his contributions, he added. He said if they had an open checkbook, he in fact would give him whatever he wanted. But there are salary cap constraints, and things did not work out the way he wanted them to. Meanwhile, Tony Romo said Murray was one of his closest friends, and the loss will definitely be tough.
Anytime you have a close friend that moves teams, it's never, it's never easy. Especially when he's going in the division. But it's part of playing in the National Football League. It is a business, and our team, we love him. He's been great for us, and he's meant a lot. I mean, I've talked to him a few times. Yeah, obviously want as many friends and good players and people that have helped the success. We always want everybody to come back. It's just not a reality sometimes, and that's disappointing sometimes in these situations.
All right, Tony Romo says it's disappointing. Des Bryant, who obviously got the franchise tag, tweeted the following. I wish you would have stayed, but I understand your decision. Congrats, bro. You deserve it. Hashtag Offense MVP of the Year. Stephen A., you wanted to get right to it. The question was, how big of a blow is this for the Cowboys? But if you want to respond to that soliloquy and the question, have at it, sir.
Well, first of all, I think it's going to be a big-time blow to the Dallas Cowboys because they lost a guy that was their workhorse. 392 carries, 449 touches. That's not something that you're going to easily replace. And I think the Dallas Cowboys will suffer from their inaction next season. But let me get to the Dallas Cowboys overall. Skip Bayless, I say this because you're my brother from another mother. We're tight. You know this. But as it pertains to this particular subject, meaning the Dallas Cowboys, you make me sick. And I want to put that on the record because I am so sick and tired of you talking about what dudes, DeMarco Murray, I like that number. I like the number that the Dallas Cowboys offer. We don't know what it's going to be, but you didn't bring up throughout last year, how you might not need to run him into the ground. Let me finish, Skip. I'm dead serious about this in this respect.
I'm good.
In this respect, if there were no Joseph Randle, if there were no Lance Dunbar, I totally get where you're saying I back off. It is what it is. But to have two quality backups and to still elect to run DeMarco Murray into the ground in the midst of knowing that he is entering a contract year, I don't think that's a mere coincidence. I think the Dallas Cowboys purposefully did that, and it wasn't just to win football games, Skip Bayless. It was to make sure they could make justification in the offseason during contract negotiation time that we can't justify giving you this amount of money because you know what? It would you're probably worn down. I think it was a calculated maneuver on their part that worked adroitly because they got people like you on national television looking at those carries, looking at those touches, looking at that workload that DeMarco Murray was subjected to, and then being able to say, hey, I don't think they should give him this amount of money because we don't know how much he has left based on the workload that he has. I hope players throughout the NFL are watching how duplicitous and conniving that the Dallas Cowboys were in this matter. I don't give 2 cents about what Tony Romo had to say. You don't have anything to do. You can't gumption up the cachet to keep a guy that made you look like an MVP candidate this year. But I'm sure he, along with Jason Witten, could have came. They had no problem coming up with whatever it took to get rid of TL. But they don't have any cachet whatsoever when it comes to keeping DeMarco Murray, who obviously is an entirely different personality and plays a different position than TL. But you get the point that I'm saying. In the end, what it comes down to is that the Dallas Cowboys come across as incredibly shady in this matter. As far as I'm concerned, they tried. That's right, I said it. They ran DeMarco Murray into the ground. They did it on purpose for the sole express purpose of trying to justify the low ball offer that they knew they were going to offer him this offseason. And as a result, they lost him to their NFC East nemesis. It is my hope and my prayer that the Dallas Cowboys suffer the consequences of their shady tendencies, that they rue the day that they let this happen. Because as far as I'm concerned, regardless of what happens with DeMarco Murray, they are the ones that facilitated this by running this man into the ground on purpose when they had two viable backups that they could have used. It's disgraceful, and they need to be called out on it. They were very classy in their response to DeMarco Murray. At least they didn't sit there and crucify him like the Eagles did with Deshaun Jackson, walking walking out the door. But nevertheless, they were still shady, very shady. I don't like what I saw happen here with DeMarco Murray. It's a damn shame that it happens, and somebody needs to say it. That's why I'm doing it.
If I make you sick, you just make me laugh. This is ludicrous what you're suggesting. There was a plot against DeMarco Murray on the part of Jerry and Stephen Jones. That is so out there. It is so ludicrous. They ran him into the ground. Remember, this isn't church league football that we're talking about here. This is the National Football League, and the object is to win games and ultimately to win the division and then a playoff game and maybe even get to the Super Bowl and win that. That was the sole goal last year. We all know running backs have been devalued across the NFL landscape because they get used up quickly. Too many carries, you get beat up, you get beaten down, you're not the same. So lifespan is short. What's the old cliche stat? Running backs last 3.2 years in the National Football League. DeMarco's now going on age 28. There was no plot against him. They were just trying to win games. They were pathetic the year before, and they had one of the great turnarounds I have ever witnessed in the National Football League. To go all the way to 12-4, win the division, win a home playoff game, and then win a playoff game at Lambeau Field that got stolen from them by the crime of the century because that was a catch. They should have gone to Seattle. They would have beaten Seattle in Seattle, and they would have been in the Super Bowl just because they changed their strategy a little and gave it a little more to DeMarco Murray. He was great last year, but Tony Romo was just as great, and so was Dez Bryant, and so was that offensive line. It all worked in concert, but it was no plot against him. You just have to pay the piper for trying to win, and they did. They pulled it off. But you're acting like there was some personal plot against DeMarco. That's craziness because there are too many plan B's, C's, and D's out there, and any team has to be ready to go to it, including now the Philadelphia Eagles, who are getting a little beat up DeMarco Murray for $21 million.
You can point that out all you want to. What I can lean on, Skip, is that his 449 touches was 6th most in NFL history. Why do you need to do that to that man approaching a contract year when you know that you have two quality backups in Lance Dunbar and Joseph Randle, when you've got an all-pro quarterback in Tony Romo, when you've got an all-world wideout in Dez Bryant, when you've got Jason Witten, when you've got Beasley, when you've got Terrence Williams, when you've got a massive offensive line who not only run blocks exceptionally well, but pass protects too. There were plenty of options for the Dallas Cowboys to lean on, but they ran DeMarco Murray 392 times. Joseph Randle ran the football 61 times in 16 games. An average of almost 3 carries a game over the course of 16 games.
You're missing the big point. It's called free agency because you are free to go wherever you want. He was free to choose the Eagles, and the Eagles needed him, so they overpaid him.
But what did you just say? But what did you just say? You just broke down to me how the running back position has been devalued. Everybody in the league knows it. When you combine that with the fact that why has the position been devalued? Because of the workload, because of the hits, the contacts, the stuff that you're subjected to.
Everybody's doing it, not just Jerry Jones.
Clearly, everybody is not doing it because it's not 392 carries that everybody in the league is getting. Adrian Peterson never had that in his career. In 15 years of the NFL, Emmitt Smith never had that in his career. It simply doesn't happen. But it happens to DeMarco Murray because you got Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys who had one playoff victory in the previous 16 years, 17 years.
Them for trying to win.
No. I'm saying to you that they've got a team. They are loaded with talent, according to you and the Cowboy lovers out there. This one individual that gets run into the ground, it happens while he's approaching his contract. And then when it's time to negotiate with him, you devalue him. You sit up there and go, well, we don't have but so much money, though. And then you offer this love letter. That's what I call it, a love letter. We love DeMarco Murray. We love the person you are, the skill. I appreciate their class because Lord knows there needs to be more of it in the NFL. But nevertheless, that love letter that they wrote about him after they didn't gumption up the money to re-sign him says to me, you know what? You didn't. Well, listen, excuse me. I'm sorry. All I'm saying, Skip, is this. you got a future to think about with the pieces that you had in place. The workload could have been significantly less for DeMarco Murray. You could have still won football games because, according to you, Tony Romo's really the MVP, not DeMarco Murray. So you could have still won football games. You could have given DeMarco Murray a lesser workload. And by the way, you wouldn't have had that excuse that he may very well be worn down. Shady McCoy got $26.5 million in guaranteed money. The brother can play, and I'm happy he got his money. But DeMarco Murray isn't that far off. But y'all gonna point to his workload to lowball this dude. I think it's shady, man. I just think it's shady.
You are really reaching to rip the Dallas Cowboys today.
I'm not,
yes,
let me let me say this to you.
This is the NFL. Everybody does this.
And Skip, and what I'm saying to you is always business with you. It's always business when it comes to these teams and their money. But when the fellas go out there and make their money, we're quick to sit there and talk about what they deserve and what they didn't deserve, but not taking into account how they could potentially be misused by the very organization who should be paying them. Who should be paying them.
Is Bill Belichick Father Flanagan here? Is he not as cutthroat and cold-blooded in personnel moves as anybody out there?
But the players are constantly treated like they should be Father Flanagans when it comes to it. Think about what you said, Skip. You don't blame the Dallas Cowboys. It's just business. But when Darrelle Revis goes and takes his money from the Jets, you said you lost respect for him.
Yeah, because
so what is
about his legacy. He got his money.
Legacy?
He made $85 million.
What do you mean he got his money? Hold on. Who's got more money than Jerry Jones in the NFL?
Well, Jerry Jones is a
who's got more money
player.
than him?
So what's the point?
So the football player is held to a different standard. This is what I'm talking about.
Well, they all have they can go out and drill for oil too. If they hit gushers, they could get richer than Jerry Jones.
I'm not talking about his oil money. He earned that, and I get that. I'm talking about him as an owner for the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, who's the biggest seller. You know, they're the biggest marketers. They're brilliant at marketing themselves and acting like they're relevant when they're only relevant once a decade, for crying out loud. Don't give me them Jerry Jones and them deserving their money, but these players that go out there and make you relevant don't deserve theirs. I'm saying to you that you're going towards free agency. You got all of this talent around you. There's a whole bunch of ways you could have won football games with the talent that the Dallas Cowboys had, but they ran DeMarco Murray until the wheels came off, in their opinion. And I just find that to be shady. And I'm not joking, and I'm not reaching. I mean what I say.
I'm not joking either. The wheels did not come off. He still made it through the year with his broken hand.
I'm saying figuratively.
I'm just saying down the line, you're at risk now. The Eagles are at risk. And to your point, look, I'm the one, for 30 years in this business, I have campaigned for NFL players to get more money. The only way to get it is at the negotiating table before a new collective bargaining deal is signed. They still have a salary cap. Dallas is working under a salary cap. Do I value Dez more than I do DeMarco? Yes, I do. I've told you that 20 times on this show.
So do I.
Jerry Jones has to sit back and do the math, man. And the math said you cannot go above $12 million for a running back who's going to be 28 years of age and who just touched the ball that many times. And DeMarco Murray on the open market just hit the lottery. It was harmonic.
You keep missing my point.
Listen, listen. It only happened, the $21 million happened only because what? Frank Gore stiffed the Eagles. That's what started the dominoes falling. And then all of a sudden, Chip Kelly starts making what looked like buffoonish move after another, ending with Sam Bradford at quarterback. And I think the whole organization took so many hits that they were forced into a position of overpaying to steal a player from a division rival. So he hit the lottery. He got money that he would not have gotten from anybody else. So the market adjusted only because Chip Kelly got thrust into a corner. But Jerry Jones did exactly the right thing. Going forward, they will be just as good, if not better. We haven't even discussed that yet. Without DeMarco Murray.
I am saying to you, Skip Bayless, is that you're looking at what he did over the last couple of weeks. I'm looking at what transpired all season. Can Joseph Randle and Lance Dunbar play, or can they not? Is this offensive line elite, or is it not? Is Tony Romo an all-pro, or is he not? Is Jason Witten a future Hall of Famer, or is he not? Is Is Des Bryant an absolute stud or is he not? If you have all of those pieces in place, why did you have to run this man 392 times? You trying to tell me that they were thinking about the future? No, they were thinking about now because they didn't care whether or not DeMarco Murray was a part of their future. They knew that he would come looking for his money. They had no real intention ever of giving it to him, and that is at the core of all of this. Because if in this entire offseason, what has everybody been saying? I have watched the NFL aficionados, the insiders, the reporters, everybody, former players, everybody talking about 392 carries, 449 touches, almost unprecedented in NFL history in terms of the workload. Jerry Jones, that's what I mean when I say riding them till the wheels come off. I know the wheels didn't come off, but it's reason to question.
Do you think that one time DeMarco Murray last year went to Jason Garrett's office or even to Jerry Jones' office and said,
I don't believe
"You're
that.
killing me. You got to quit making me carry it so many times."
I don't believe that.
He wanted the ball. He probably wanted it more than he got it. They all do. I'm sorry.
I agree with that. But you know better. You know that when it comes to a player, particularly them trying to get their money, they got a whole bunch of laudables in there, in front of them. They're looking at what they can achieve. They're looking at what they accomplish. At any other time, you usually get coaches and organizations monitoring, bringing guys along, and all of that other stuff. Why? To protect their investment.
Okay.
I'm saying to you that the Dallas Cowboys didn't think like that because they didn't think about DeMarco Murray as an investment.
Who called Jerry Jones sweet, according to our Don Van Natta, who was in the suite at that point writing an ESPN the magazine piece or working on one, who called Jerry sweet on another cell phone and asked to speak to Jerry Jones during, I think it was during an exhibition game? Adrian Peterson. You don't think Jerry has a big old plan B on the back burner?
Of course.
You don't think this would be a Jerry Jones special? I know it's a long shot to get Adrian Peterson because he's under contract for $12.75 million. This is the kind of move Jerry Jones has routinely pulled off in Dallas, Texas.
We know that. Who's debating that? Of course that's true. We've talked about Adrian Peterson speaking to him. We know that. We know in a perfect world he wants Adrian Peterson. Most of us believe that Adrian Peterson is the best running back in football. Who doesn't know that? That is not the issue. That's not what we're debating. I am saying to you that in the end, that's just another point to prove that DeMarco Murray wasn't perceived as an investment. He was perceived as an individual. Let's use him up. Let's get what we can out of him while we can, with no regard for his future as it pertains to being a Dallas Cowboy.
Gentlemen,
and you just proved that.
I'm sorry, Jerry isn't a candidate to be the next Pope.
Gentlemen, you guys really started the show well today, and obviously I need help now. We just came up with this. We need to know, did DeMarco deserve his money? What do you guys think at home? You saw how fiery that just got. Reply to the hashtag DeMarco to the Eagles, yes or no. Did he deserve his money? We will reveal the results when obviously we'll pick up this topic a little later on in our second hour. Also, we want you to go over to our Instagram page to find out what we are discussing a little later on in the show, as the whole full rundown of the show. But I'm exhausted.
So am I, but I'm just getting warmed up.
God, no, I can tell. Kyrie Irving scored a franchise record 57 points in an overtime win over the Spurs. Did we see a preview of the NBA Finals? That is the discussion after the break. And then Friday Rundown, ladies and gentlemen. Please check it out. Topics. Hot.